Hi, I'm Jonesy Thompson. Thanks for coming by to chat. Welcome to this vlog, or if you just want to listen, podcast about 7 tips, tricks for people with sensitive noses who still really like fragrance and want to use it. I know because I'm in this camp. I'm obsessed with fragrance, and yet my nose is very particular, very sensitive. I can't use so many different things. So these are some things that I've learned. And if you have any tricks for this, I really wish you put them in the comments because I would love to know your experience and what helps you with this. So you might be nose sensitive. If you're not sure, here's some indicators. And if you are, you'll relate. One is the smell of someone's freshly done laundry is like suffocating you. Laundry is supposed to be soft and tolerable for everyone, right? But if your nose is like, no, then you know you have a sensitive nose. If you hug certain people and either their fragrance or their body odor overwhelms you, you know you're probably smell sensitive. If you go to a friend's house and you're so tempted to go blow out all of their candles because you're on overload from all of the smell, that's probably you too. And if you can detect certain fragrance notes out of a lineup, like tuberose or musk, and you put the brakes on, then you probably have a really sensitive nose. And so here are a few things that might help. And we'll talk about different areas of smelling things. One is laundry. We mentioned laundry earlier, and we all need to do our laundry, so it affects us. And you might just switch to a completely fragrance-free detergent, and that would be fine. That would be great. But sometimes you want your laundry to smell like a little bit of something. So a couple of things you could do. One is take your favorite detergent and use the same line unscented to do a 50-50 split of unscented, half scented, and that will reduce the amount of fragrance in your laundry to a more tolerable amount. Another thing you can do is I like to get laundry detergent from Buff City Soap in my town. If your city has one, I really recommend this. I love this. It only takes a small amount in your laundry and your clothes are gonna smell really good, but they mix it in the shop. So if you wanted half the amount of fragrance, I believe they would accommodate you without a problem and just use half of the scent for it, and then that would be fabulous. I have thought about doing this a few times because it is a little bit strong, but the smell is so good. I haven't been able to talk myself into reducing the amount of fragrance in it just because the smell is so good, but it is something you could do. Next, candles. Okay, there's nothing like the ambiance of a candle, but if your nose is really sensitive, something you might do instead, if you haven't already, try diffusing some essential oils. And you could start with one as simple and innocuous as orange. I feel like most people are able to tolerate a light citrus, and then you can also customize how strong it's going to smell. You just start with 1 or 2 drops in your diffuser and then later increase if you're okay with it. And that gives you a good way to gauge what amount of scent you need in your home. And they help neutralize odor pretty well. But if you really do want a candle, this is a tip I've found, to get ones that are not too strong. And let me just tell you, I'm really sensitive to candles. I find that getting them at Aldi, this is when I got around Christmas time, gingerbread, they have some of them have about the right amount of fragrance for me. They don't overpower me so much I can't take it, but they will make my house smell nice. So if you would like maybe a reduced strength candle that still smells good, try some of Aldi's. And they do have some that are still strong as well, so don't count them out if you like a stronger smell, but they tend to have a few in their selection that are not so loud. So do recommend that. Air fresheners are maybe the most challenging area of fragrance to me. They will knock me out. They will run me out of a room. I just can't do it. So one thing you might try is mixing your own with some essential oils and distilled water in a spray bottle. You shake it every time, spray it around. It doesn't last long, but it might get the job done. But another thing you could do is take a clean brands, either room spray or like this is a hair and body mist from Pacifica, and you could try spraying that. I like to spray my linens with this vanilla. If you're a vanilla person, their island vanilla is really, really good. I've also got some of their moon line. They have a bunch of different scents that they call whatever moon, fill in the blank moon, and those are really nice. But those could also work in a room that you want to help smell good. Just put a little on your pillow, put a little on your sofa, put a little, use them all around. And if I was still desperate for what is truly like a room spray, I might think about forking over more money than the ones I would just find in a big box store. I believe my nose could probably tolerate some that are a little bit higher quality, but we'll see. That remains to still be seen. And here are some suggestions with your fragrance and perfume. Obviously, I like those things, and it's a choice to still use them even though my nose is sensitive. But here are a few tips. 1, avoid blind buying fragrances unless you can return them. And I do find that it's fun and it's cost effective sometimes to blind buy fragrances because places like TJ Maxx and Burlington have great prices on some designer fragrances, sometimes luxury fragrances, but a lot of times you're not allowed to smell them. They're locked in a box. They will let you return them, and I have returned a few. If you'd like to see a video about ones I've returned and why, I can make a whole video about that. But I do recommend only buying them in places that will let you return them if you don't like them. Also, you could just generally stick to body mists or the EDT version of fragrances. The EDT is a lighter concentration of fragrance in a scent. And if you've smelled an EDP of a fragrance and you think to yourself, I love the way my friend smells, I'm gonna go get that same fragrance in an EDT, that's fine, but just test it first because they're not exactly the same formulations, even though they're the same fragrance name. So brands that you might think of like Saint Laurent or Dior or some of those, they will probably have both versions and they don't necessarily smell exactly the same. So you're gonna wanna test the lighter version if you smelled the other one first. Just make sure you like it. And then if you do the EDT, or especially if you do body mist, you just know you're going to need to reapply them more often, but that's okay if you're not getting a sour nose or a headache or whatever, sneezing, whatever it causes for you, you're not gonna have to deal with that. It's better to have to reapply. I would rather do that. I would rather carry it around. And if you're online reading fragrance reviews, which is generally a pretty good idea, although sometimes others might plant ideas in my head about a scent that are not true, and then I go in biased, but sometimes you just wanna know what other folks are saying. If it ever describes a fragrance as beast mode, run the other direction. You and I, those are not for us if you're smell sensitive. Avoid any ones that say beast mode. Even if that fragrance would last all day and that would be an asset to you, more than likely you're gonna end up overwhelmed by anything described as beast mode. So what are your tips and tricks for anything fragrance related if you have a sensitive nose? I would love to share other ideas on this. I'm definitely down to learn. So please share in the comments. If you're not already subscribed, would you do that? I would love to see you hear more and learn from you and all the things you know about fragrance too. Thanks for connecting.